Thanks for joining for this episode of the TechSpective podcast. I have with me Jim Dolce from Lookout. So Jim, if you would like to give a little bit of background on yourself.
Sure, Tony. Good morning. I am CEO of Lookout. I've been with the company now doing this for about 10 years. I joined the company in 2014. If you know the history of Lookout, it started as a consumer security company. And I joined with the task of bringing the company into the enterprise, bringing the technology platform and the company's focus into the enterprise. And we've done that over the past 10 years and focused predominantly in that first 10 years on device security, right? So guarding the machine, as I say. And today, yesterday, we announced a brand new initiative into a new area, which we refer to as human security, which is basically guarding the operator.
Okay. Well, so I saw the news from yesterday with the Lookout smishing AI, and it's kind of the first AI-driven protection for that. But let's set the foundation for anyone who doesn't know. Define smishing.
Yeah, smishing very simply is SMS phishing. So phishing has been a problem for many years. It started and is still predominant on email. Whole industries have emerged to protect email users from phishing attacks. Companies like Proofpoint, Mimecast, new companies like Abnormal Security. The phishing market, email phishing market, is a pretty big market. It's a $5 or $6 billion market. It's expected to continue to grow. So this is still a growing problem. It's not a problem that has been solved. What we're talking about today is attackers moving from email over to other messaging mechanisms. We call it an omni-channel attacks, right? Multi-channel tactics such as SMS phishing or smishing. There's also in the future, voice calls can be an attack surface. Right. It's called phishing. Right, we have QR codes, which can be an attack surface called referred to as phishing, and so as smishing or SMS phishing is basically just a very similar threat to email phishing, except that now attackers are moving over to messaging systems, and that's not just SMS. That may include iMessage, WhatsApp, and even other social DMs.
And unlike email, which has tools now that have been built over time to be like to try to filter some of that stuff out, without something like what you've just introduced, or whatever, there really isn't something like that for SMS texts. And for anyone, you probably get either around the holidays, you get the ones saying that your UPS package or your USPS package has been held up and you need to click this link. You get the ones that say you owe Easy Pass, your bill is overdue for your tolls. Lately, I've been getting some that say that my Coinbase account, and I'm like, I've never had a Coinbase account. Who has a Coinbase account? So those things, and I will say that one of my favorite features in iOS on the voice side is the option to automatically send all unknown calls to voicemail.
Yeah. So
it's just a feature in there that says, hey, if you're not in my contacts, my phone's not going to ring. And I'm like, why haven't they introduced that same thing for texting? Like, if you're not in my contacts, I don't want to hear from you.
Right. Yeah, we call this the investment gap that no one talks about, right? So you know that, as I mentioned, the email phishing market's $5-6 billion market, and there hasn't been any technology to protect users from smishing or other omni-channel attacks like we're discussing, and so there hasn't been an opportunity to make such an investment. But today, the human threat doesn't disappear outside of the inbox. It actually amplifies on mobile because users are more distracted, right? They're less skeptical, they're faster to engage, I'm in San Francisco this week, walking down Market Street yesterday. You can't see a person walking down the street that doesn't have their heads in their phone. People crossing the streets without even looking because their head is in their phone and they're perhaps replying to somebody's SMS message, right? And they're distracted. Very different than when we're on email. We've learned on email, when an email comes in from an unknown sender, we're very skeptical about it, right? We've learned over the years to be skeptical and to be careful. We're not skeptical and we're not careful on these mobile messaging systems because we're often very distracted when a message comes in on mobile, right? The other thing is you can spend the entire day and watch your email box just fill up. You delay it and you say to yourself, I'll just clear the email box at the end of the day when I have some time. That's not the case. It's just human nature it's not the case with an SMS. You get that bing and you get on that phone and you look to reply to that in moments. Right? Without a lot of skepticism about who it is and what they're sending. And so we do expect now, statistics show and data shows that 40% of the phishing attacks now occur over a non-email threat surface. And that just keeps increasing. So we do expect that as people begin to realize this, that some of the investment, some of the security investment will begin to move to these new lines of defense.
Okay. Well, you started off with this, and I know I've heard it before, but you've framed people as opposed to servers, devices, firewalls as the front line of cybersecurity. What do you think makes the human layer such an appealing and vulnerable target?
Because we're focusing on human security focuses on the person behind the phone, and the tactics are more psychological or social tactics. Attackers are using psychological and social tactics to trick users, right? Various techniques to get users to usually reveal sensitive information or credentials. And so it's a very different attack surface than attacking the device, where the exploits are things like malware, jailbreak, rooting of devices, and you're dealing with a machine versus dealing with a human. And the human is more susceptible to sort of psychological or social tactics. Now, the other part of this is I can generate an attack on you, Tony, just by going up and looking at your profile. I'll go to your LinkedIn profile. I'll find you on Facebook. I'll figure out who your friends are. I'll spoof your friend's name when I send you that message, so that his name pops up on your phone. His or her name pops up on the phone. And again, these are tricks that I can use because I have all of this information about Tony. You're a person who's widely exposed on the internet and on social.
For sure.
And I can learn everything about you and use what I learn to create this trick to get you to do something for me.
Right. Yeah, that's why I've got 7 kids, and my kids have said that of the entire family, for me, we need to have some kind of a code word. Exactly. that if they ever get a call that says, "Hey, this is Dad, I need blah blah blah," like there has to be some kind of a test to pass, because there's so much. My face is out there, my voice is out there, everything is out there. It would be real easy to do. Another one of the attacks that I see a lot, which I think is a different kind of attack, because there's no link. This is more of a pig butchering attack kind of thing, where you get the ones that just say, "Are you there yet?" Or
yes.
"Can we do dinner tonight?" And I think that plays on human nature, where I think most humans default to assuming, "Oh, that's just they just texted the wrong number. Let me be nice. Let me be nice and respond and say, 'Oh, you got the wrong number,'" which just starts the conversation. And then
Exactly.
and then they get into it being like, "Oh, okay. Well, sorry, I texted the wrong number. But now that I've got you, let's talk about this." And people need to be in the habit of being assholes, kind of like, I don't care that you texted the wrong number. That's not my problem.
Right. You have to be vigilant, and you're exactly right. That is the start of the kill chain, right? So they're just trying to bait you to get you engaged in a discussion, and that's the start of the kill chain. And if you take the bait, you will see almost every time that they'll continue to dig in exactly like you just described. Now that I've got you, let's talk about this.
Going back to guys, what you guys announced, Smishing AI. So Smishing AI, you're leveraging LLMs to detect context and intent. So, I mean, I assume that it's effective. So how effective is AI at spotting, kind of emotional cues or conversational patterns? How effective is this at being able to identify and help me avoid these threats?
Yeah, so we've been building this model or training this model. So this is generative AI. You train a large language model. Large language models are a perfect solution for this because the text that you receive is a language text. And so we've been training this model now for about 5 or 6 months through our own employees and a bunch of beta customers. We collect the messages that are coming in. We de-identify them, right? So we will make them anonymous. We will remove any names or other personal identifiable information, and then we'll run the text string strings against this LLM, this model, to train the model, and then we will discard the text. We don't keep any of this information. Obviously, there are privacy issues associated with that. So we collect the text, we anonymize it, we run it against the model to train the model, and then we discard it. And over time, as we've been able to run literally hundreds of thousands of millions of sample texts against the model has gotten better and better at identifying these threats, as you mentioned, intent, etc. There doesn't have to be a URL in the text, right? There used to be, historically, smishing always involved a URL.
I think that's one of the things that makes the newer version a better attack against human nature. I think people, I think people were conditioned or are mostly conditioned to not click on a link in a text, but when they get one that just says, "Hey, are you there yet?" or "Hey, can we do dinner tonight?" You look at it and you go, "All right, there's no, I can't click on anything. There's no phone number for me to call."
In here,
Right.
It must be okay. Exactly. And so that's where the model comes in, because the model is looking at intent. Now, you asked me how accurate is the model. Based on the last 6 months or so of training, and again, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of texts that we've been able to apply against the model, it runs about 90%, 98% accuracy today. So it's very effective and very good in determining intent. But very simply, we get a text, we run it against the model, we ask the model, is this a threat? The model comes back 98% accuracy, whether or not it is a threat. So there's a 2% false positive, but we haven't even introduced this to the market. We're very confident that as we introduce it to the market, and like any model, the more data we push against it, the better it gets its training, and the fewer false positives that you'll see. Very few false positives today, but we think we can get this to very close to 99+%.
Okay. You talked about the anonymizing, and that is a thing that is an ongoing issue and will continue to be an issue. I mean, there was the recent sort of like hubbub with Zscaler and kind of misunderstanding what Jay meant when he said that they were looking at all the data, and people going, well, wait a minute, you're not supposed to be like storing all of my data in your LLM. And it's like, well, yes, but there's a benefit. Like you actually want me to store the data, but the anonymized version of the data, but because that's how the LLM learns. So it's like, if you want the security to get better, you want the vendor to be looking at that and analyzing that. Yes, you want your personal stuff and your sensitive information, stripped out, but you want the vendor to look at the data.
Yeah. We've been in the business of privacy for 10 years. I mean, privacy, when in our first 10 years that we've been doing device management, privacy has always been front and center in device security. And so we knew going into this, as we moved to human security, privacy would be even a bigger issue. And we created this solution, Smishing AI, with very strict privacy safeguards. And I'll give you a few of the things that we do. First, trusted contacts are automatically excluded. So you have a contact list on your phone. You just mentioned your kids' names are in the contact list. I'm sure family members, friends, etc. We don't look at those messages. Only messages from unknown senders are analyzed. Okay. Somebody that you don't know. So you can rest assured we will never even look at a message that came in from someone who is trusted by you, and will assume you trust them because you have their name and number in your contact list. And so that basically takes a lot of the privacy issues off the table, because people may say, I don't want you seeing private messages from family members or friends or whatever it may be. We don't even look at them. Then, if it comes in from a contact that is unknown to you, any personal information is what we call de-identified to prevent exposure. And by the way, we de-identify by running against the model. Now we can take it, run it against the model. The model basically takes out all of the personal information, any sensitive data, third-party data, etc. And then the last piece of it is, once we run this de-identified text string to train the model, we have a zero retention policy. And so the message is never stored or used for training in the future. It's zero retention, immediately deleted. And so all we do with it is train the model with de-identified information that comes from people you don't know.
Okay, and it is also opt-in. So you set it up as opt-in, which kind of alleviates some of that, but also creates possible challenges with adoption. So like, how do you navigate that? Like, how do you kind of incentivize people to opt in?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And the answer is gamification, right? We want people to take part in their own security. And so this is a very different mindset from device security. In device security, where we're sitting monitoring for malware and phishing links and et cetera, we're doing that in the background. We're kind of silent in the background. When we move into human security, we have to engage the human. It has to be a much more engaging process. It cannot be a silent process. The human has to partake in, and the user has to partake in security. And so we do that, and we encourage participation through a gamification model, right? Tony, you get a message and you opted in. A message comes from your device. We determine it's a threat. Not only do we determine it's a threat, but we're seeing it across the entire enterprise. And so other people are getting this message as well. But we had advanced notification of it because it came from your device first. We're going to send you a badge. Or perhaps you're going to get some points, for participating not only in your own personal security, but also in the security of your company and therefore your colleagues, right? And so it's a gamification model. But the difference between human security and addressing human security versus addressing device security is we must engage the user, and the user has to participate in his own security, right? So yes, you have to opt in. We're going to encourage you to opt in, and we're going to award you and reward you using gaming techniques to continue to participate in your own security and the security of your company.
Okay. Well, and this is another area that where there are benefits to the technology, but that there has to be a level of trust. There has to be a relationship and a trade-off. I've said the same thing when it comes to I'm not going to say her name, the Apple digital assistant or Alexa or whatever, where it's like the ability for those virtual assistants to be effective is really a function of how much trust are you giving it. Like, are you giving it access to your calendar? Are you giving it access to your music playlist? Are you giving it access? Like, the more access you give it, the better job it can do being a virtual assistant for you. And if you want to lock things down, you can do that, but then you're trading off, like if you're paranoid about, people tracking your location and you turn off the location, features on your phone, you can do that, but then now you can't use the GPS.
Yeah. Human engagement has been very effective in the email security model recently, right? So in our company, if you see a email that comes in that looks suspicious, you can forward it to security@lookout.com, right? And it'll be analyzed. Employees have really embraced that concept, right? And again, this is a similar concept on SMS, where we're engaging the employee in his own security and the security of the company, right? And then we're rewarding them with feedback and gratitude, right? Right, for making the company safer.
Okay, makes sense. You've also, you've described smishing AI as part of a broader AI first strategy. So how does this launch signal the future of Lookout's product roadmap, or the evolution of where else can you apply AI down the road?
Yeah, the next frontier, because the next threat is going to be in the area what I just mentioned, which is referred to as phishing or voice phishing. It's a relatively new technique, but it's surging with popularity. It utilizes either live or pre-recorded phone calls to deceive victims into disclosing credentials and transferring money, etc. No different than the text version or the messaging version, which is smishing. Phishing just simply uses voice instead of text. The attackers can spoof caller IDs to appear as, a trusted entity, maybe an executive, perhaps the IP help desk, a bank or a government agency, and they're targeting employees directly on their mobile devices, right? And so when you look at all of these new threats, we talk about this new line of defense that phishing started as an email problem, and now it's moved to messaging, where it's called smishing, and also moving to voice, where it's called phishing. But what is the common denominator between all of these new attack surfaces, whether it's smishing or phishing or quishing, which is QR code phishing? The common denominator is all of these, the new attacks happen on mobile devices, right? Voice is a mobile phenomenon. SMS in your messaging systems, whether it's iMessage or WhatsApp, all mobile phenomena. A QR code, you have to take a photograph with your mobile phone, right? So we're moving from email to mobile. Again, there will have to be a similar movement to the investment that goes on in protecting $5-6 billion market for email, but 40% of the attacks now are mobile related attacks, and that's going to continue as phishing becomes front and center, and it is doing so very quickly.
Well, yeah, and I feel like anything that makes life easier or better for us also becomes an attack vector.
Of course.
And I feel like the more we progress, the more it kind of forces us to regress. Like at this point, it's like, all right, I'm only going to, yes, it would be real easy for you to send me an email, send me a text, we have all of these tools at our disposal. But at this point, it's like, if I can't see your face and have a conversation with you, I don't know if I trust it. It's like it's kind of forcing us back into like human interaction, because it's like I can't trust it otherwise. And when you talk about the phishing, I'm like, that one seems like one of the harder ones to me, because there are lots of people I've talked to in the cybersecurity space who hate QR codes. Like, they hate that restaurants are using QR codes, that places are using QR codes as legitimate things, because you can't tell where that's going. And you don't know, if you go to a restaurant and they've got a QR code on the table to scan for the menu, you don't know if someone came in and like put another sticker over that one. So you don't know what you're scanning.
Exactly. Yes. Yes, we have a very large customer of ours asked us to build a feature for their employees, which was basically a QR code tester. Because employees, obviously, they use their phones for business and for personal use, and employers were going into restaurants with their family, and before having the rest of the family go and take that QR code, they wanted a mechanism whereby the employee could test the QR code first before allowing everyone else in the family, to go and grab that QR code to get a menu or whatever it may be, right? Those QR codes resolve down to URLs,
right?
And then it becomes a URL check, right? So we built the mechanism into our app to allow QR code testing. That request came from one of our largest customers, and the request was, our employees are looking for a way to test these QR codes outside of work. Because their family is exposed to them as well, and they want some mechanism to know that it's safe for my family to go and grab that menu. Right? When you go to that restaurant, everyone around the table is grabbing the menu. It's not just one person. Right.
Right. All right. Well, I want to kind of wrap things up, but I think the smishing AI is sounds like the right way to go, and I know that this is a big problem, because again, with text messages, it's like you don't have a lot of the defenses you have with email. Like with email, I can very easily look and see. They're there, but they're harder to get to. To see. Okay, well, where did this really come from, and where does this URL really go? And and different tricks that we've been taught over the years for email that are very difficult to do on a phone. And like you said, like I'm very much like, I hate the little red dot. I hate notification dots on my phone. So like, I will, if I have a text message, I'm going to clear that text message.
Exactly.
I'm either going to respond to it, or I'm going to delete it, but I'm going to get rid of that red dot.
Immediate response. Yeah. And on email, this is not about abandoning email protection. As I said, a $5-6 billion market is projected to go to $10 billion. So that is still going to grow. It's about aligning your defenses with where the attacks are truly happening. And today, these attacks are moving. We call it omni-channel attacks. They're moving to other channels, and these other channels, smishing, phishing, quishing, happen to be all mobile channels. And so basically, the call for action here is to start understand that these threats are moving to mobile, and then do something about them. And this announcement we made yesterday is the first time you can actually do something about them.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to join me.
Thank you. Have a great day.